Imagine this. You're holding a small, ordinary-looking penny in your hand. It's brown. It's scratched. It's worn from decades of passing through countless palms. To most people, it's worth exactly 1 cent. But to the right collector, under the right conditions, that same penny could be worth close to $1 million. Yes, a single coin in your change jar, hiding in plain sight, could be the key to a financial windfall beyond your imagination. And today, we're going to uncover the mysterious, extraordinary story of the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "Come on, it's just a penny," think about this. The year was 1964. The Beatles had just taken America by storm. The Civil Rights Act was signed. And at the same time, millions of these unassuming 1-cent coins were struck and released into circulation. But hidden among them, like rare stars in a night sky, are specimens so pristine, so unusual, that their value today rivals the price of a luxury home. One of these coins, in near-perfect condition, carries a staggering market value of $964,000. Imagine what that could do for you and your family right now. So why is it that some 1964 pennies are worth just a cent, while others are worth a fortune? Comes down to rarity, condition, and hidden minting details. Most of the 1964 pennies you'll find have a dull surface, scratches, or discoloration. That makes them common. But every once in a while, a coin survives untouched, gleaming, uncirculated, and nearly flawless. These survivors are graded by professionals at levels like MS-67 and higher, and that tiny difference in condition is what turns pocket change into a treasure chest. Picture 2 identical coins. One is tossed in a drawer, the other is sealed away for 60 years. One is worth a penny. The other is worth almost $1 million. Which one do you wish you had right now? And then there's the mint mark question. If you look at most Lincoln pennies, you'll see a tiny letter below the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But on some coins, there's no mint mark at all. In 1964, pennies without a mint mark were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At the time, nobody thought twice about it. But today, serious collectors hunt for these Philadelphia issues in high grades because they represent a piece of American history captured in copper. The absence of that tiny letter is like a whisper from the past. And for collectors, whispers like that are worth fortunes. Now let's get real for a second. If you're like most people, you probably have a jar of coins somewhere in your house. Maybe it's in the kitchen. Maybe it's buried in a drawer you haven't opened in years. Inside that jar could be a 1964 penny. And here's the kicker. You might overlook it, thinking it's worthless. But what if you're wrong? What if that one coin sitting in the dark is worth more than your car, your mortgage, or your entire retirement account? The fear of missing out isn't just hype here. It's reality. Collectors are paying record-breaking prices right now because demand for rare U.S. coins is exploding. Wealthy buyers, investors, and institutions are pouring money into rare currency as a hedge against inflation and uncertainty. And that means coins that once sold for a few $100s are now pushing into the hundreds of thousands. The 1964 no-mint mark penny has already proven it can climb to a $964,000 market value. The question is, how much higher could it go in the coming years? Wouldn't you want to be the one holding it when it does? Of course, not every coin will make you rich. That's the sobering reality. But the upside is so powerful, it's worth taking the chance to check. Think of it like treasure hunting. Most days you might find nothing, but all it takes is just one discovery to change everything. If you found a 1964 penny in exceptional condition today, you wouldn't just imagine pulling out an old jar of pennies from the back of a closet, the kind you've ignored for decades, dusty and forgotten. Now picture this, inside that jar, there could be one coin, just one, that transforms your entire financial future. A single 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that has sold for staggering amounts, and in today's market can fetch up to $965,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin you might already own. But here's the thing most people don't realize, 1965 was no ordinary year for coins. The U.S. Mint was under immense pressure during a national coin shortage. To meet demand, they struck billions of pennies but left off the mint marks entirely. That means every coin looked the same, whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. And that little detail created a perfect storm of scarcity and mystery. Out of the billions produced, a select few were struck under unusual conditions, leaving behind rare errors, sharp details, and distinct qualities that today command astronomical prices. The kind of prices that make everyday people wealthy overnight. Think about it. How many times have you walked past a penny on the sidewalk? How many times have you dumped handfuls of coins into a Coinstar machine without looking? What if you already tossed away a small fortune? That possibility sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? That fear of missing out is exactly why collectors and investors are hunting these coins relentlessly. Because while most 1965 pennies are worth only face value, a rare variant or a pristine example can change everything. So how do you know if your penny is the one? First, condition is king. A circulated 1965 penny may be worth a few cents to a few dollars, but one in mint state condition, untouched, gleaming as if it were struck yesterday, can command thousands. Go a step further. A flawless coin graded MS-67 or higher. That's where the six-figure values begin. And if you're wondering how often that happens, the answer is rarely, which is why the excitement is so electric. Imagine owning one of the few in existence that has achieved perfection. Imagine turning a penny into a new home, a retirement fund, or generational wealth. But the story doesn't end with condition. There are also errors, those tiny mistakes the mint never intended. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets. To the untrained eye they may look like imperfections, but to a collector they're treasures. A double die example of the 1965 penny, sharp and undeniable, has commanded prices that push into the hundreds of thousands. Combine rarity with condition, and you arrive at that breathtaking $965,000 valuation. One coin, one stroke of luck, and a lifetime of financial comfort. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1965 penny marks a turning point in American coinage history. Silver was being phased out, the mint was stretched thin, and penny production was running at an almost frantic pace. That environment means mistakes slipped through the cracks. It means ordinary people, decades later, have the chance to uncover extraordinary value. And it means that even now, hidden in jars, drawers, and old piggy banks, life-changing pennies are still out there, waiting to be discovered. So let me ask you, have you checked yours yet? Have you opened that old coffee can, that shoebox, that childhood collection gathering dust in the attic? You might laugh at the idea of a penny being worth close to $1 million, but the people who have already cashed in aren't laughing. They're cashing checks, they're upgrading their lives, they're turning pocket change into prosperity. And the only difference between them and everyone else is that they looked closely. Imagine the regret of realizing too late that you once held a fortune in your hands and let it slip through your fingers. That fear should fuel your curiosity, because every day more people are checking, grading, and selling coins like these. The market is hot, competition is fierce, and those who act now stand the best chance of reaping the rewards. Opportunity doesn't knock forever. It whispers once, and if you don't listen, it moves on. So here's your moment. Go check your coins. Take them seriously. If you find a 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny in pristine condition, or with one of those rare and coveted errors, you could be holding the ticket to nearly $1 million. That's not a fantasy, that's a documented reality in the coin market today. The only question left is this: will you be the one who finds it, or will you let the chance of a lifetime pass you by? If you want to uncover more hidden treasures in your pocket change and learn how to spot the coins that could make you wealthy, subscribe now. Because the next story I tell might be about the coin that's sitting in your very own collection. What if the penny sitting in your pocket, the one you've ignored 1,000 times, could be worth nearly $1 million? Imagine picking up a dull brown cent from 1967 and discovering that collectors are fighting over it for life-changing sums. Up to $967,000 in today's market. That's not a fantasy. It's reality. And tonight, we're diving into the astonishing story of the 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Most people have walked past coins like this their entire lives. They get dropped, scuffed, left at the bottom of jars. But hidden in those jars might be a ticket to freedom, a way to wipe out debt or even buy your dream home. Why? Because in 1967, The United States Mint made a series of decisions that forever changed the way these little copper discs were struck, and it created a rare collector's gem. Here's where it gets interesting. Normally, pennies carry a mint mark, a tiny letter that shows where they were made. But in the mid-1960s, the mint decided to remove those marks entirely to discourage collectors from hoarding coins. The Cold War was raging, silver was disappearing from circulation, and everyday Americans were suddenly stacking coins as if they were gold. The government's solution? Take away the mint marks. Ironically, that very decision made the 1967 no-mark penny one of the most talked about treasures in American numismatic history. If every 1967 penny has no mint mark, what makes some worth hundreds of thousands of dollars while others are still just a single cent? That's the cliffhanger. The answer lies in condition, rarity, and errors. Perfect, untouched examples, those graded in the highest mint state, are almost impossible to find today. After all, who kept a penny from 1967 safe and pristine for almost 6 decades? But when one of those flawless survivors surfaces, the value skyrockets. Imagine this: a coin that cost someone 1 cent in 1967, carried carefully, never spent, never touched by oily fingers, could now fetch nearly $1 million at auction. Think about the return on that investment. And here's the twist. Sometimes even flawed pennies can be worth fortunes. Struck through errors, off-center strikes, or double dies on a 1967 penny could transform a dull copper coin into a 6-figure miracle. It's almost like a lottery ticket hiding in plain sight. But here's where the fear sets in. Most people don't recognize what they have. They'll toss these coins back into circulation or sell them for pennies on the dollar, never realizing that they're walking away from a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How many million-dollar pennies have already been lost to vending machines, parking meters, or piggy banks that ended up in the trash? The thought alone should make you want to check every coin that passes through your hands. Let's zoom out for a second. Collectors in the United States aren't just hobbyists. They're investors, dreamers, and treasure hunters. The market for rare coins has exploded in recent years because people are realizing that wealth doesn't just sit in bank accounts. It sometimes hides in plain sight, disguised as everyday change. The 1967 penny is proof. This isn't about luck. It's about awareness, discipline, and knowing what to look for. Here's a quick checklist you'll want to burn into your memory. First, condition. If your penny looks crisp, with sharp details and no signs of wear, it's a candidate. Second, errors. Look closely under magnification for doubling on the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's profile. Third, rarity. Professional grading can confirm whether your coin falls into the highest value bracket. And fourth, patience, because the right buyer at the right auction can transform a few $100,000 into nearly $1 million overnight. And yes, it might sound unbelievable. After all, how many of us have fished pennies out of the couch cushions or brushed them off the car floor without thinking twice? But maybe that tiny coin was worth more than your car. Maybe more than your house. If that doesn't make you want to grab a flashlight and dig through every drawer, I don't know what will. Here's the urgent truth. Coins like this don't stay hidden forever. As more people become aware, the supply shrinks and demand climbs higher. The opportunity is now. Think about it. If you had a 1967 penny sitting in your collection, would you hold it? Or would you cash in before the next record-breaking auction? That's the million-dollar question. Literally. So tonight, take one small step. Look through your coins. Don't ignore the brown, ordinary cents. They're the ones with the potential to shock you the most. That jar on your shelf might be worth more than the paycheck you've been waiting for. And if this journey into the hidden wealth of pennies has lit a spark inside you, there's more waiting. More coins. More secrets. More opportunities that could change your financial destiny. So subscribe, join this community of treasure hunters, and never miss a chance to uncover the wealth that others overlook. Because somewhere, in a drawer, in a jar, maybe even in your pocket right now, $1 million penny is waiting for someone brave enough to notice it. Imagine opening an old jar of pennies, dusty and forgotten at the back of a kitchen cabinet, and inside lies a coin so ordinary in appearance that you might toss it into a vending machine without a second thought. Yet this coin, a simple 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could quietly hold the power to change your life forever. What if I told you that one of these pennies has reached a staggering market value of $968,000? That's nearly $1 million for something you could easily overlook in your loose change. The shocking truth is that these coins are out there, and someone is going to find them. The question is, will it be you? At first glance, the 1968 penny doesn't seem special. It looks just like the billions of others struck during that era. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. But the secret is in what's missing. The mint mark. No little D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No identifying stamp at all. And that absence has turned a simple cent into one of the most sought-after treasures in American coinage. Think of it like a printing error on a rare baseball card, or a misprinted stamp. Imperfections that make collectors' hearts race and wallets open wide. Why is the missing mint mark such a big deal? In 1968, coins were struck in multiple locations, and mint marks were crucial to tracking where they came from. But a small number slipped through production without them. These errors weren't intentional, and that's precisely what gives them immense rarity. When something is both common-looking and nearly impossible to find in pristine condition, the demand skyrockets. Imagine being a collector who has hunted for decades for just one of these elusive no-mint mark 1968 pennies. What price would you pay to finally own it? Now here's where it gets even more electrifying. Condition is everything. A 1968 penny plucked straight from circulation, scratched and worn, might only bring a few dollars. But a no-mint mark example in flawless, uncirculated condition can push into hundreds of thousands, even breaking into million-dollar territory at auction. Picture a humble coin graded at the highest possible level, sitting under glass at a prestigious coin show, with eager bidders raising their paddles higher and higher. The bidding war isn't about a cent anymore, it's about owning a once-in-a-lifetime miracle of history. But let's pause for a second. How many of us have walked past old jars of coins in our parents' or grandparents' homes without giving them a glance? What if that tiny overlooked penny could have been the ticket to your dream home, early retirement, or a legacy for your children? That's the fear most collectors live with, the idea that life-changing money slipped through their hands because they didn't pay attention. And it's also the excitement that keeps coin hunters searching every single day. So how do you know if your 1968 penny is the jackpot? First, flip the coin and look closely under Lincoln's shoulder, just above the date. Normally, you'd see a mint mark, D for Denver or S for San Francisco. If there's nothing there, your pulse should quicken. Next, examine the condition. Sharp edges, clear details, minimal scratches. These are signs of high value. Coins in perfect condition are rare because most pennies from that year were used, dropped, rubbed, and passed around countless times. To find one that looks nearly untouched is like discovering a diamond in gravel. Let me give you a mental picture. Imagine holding a coin so flawless that it reflects the light like a mirror, every detail of Lincoln's profile crisp and precise. Now imagine being the one to send it off for grading, waiting anxiously, and then hearing back that it's a top-tier specimen. That little penny just transformed into a financial windfall that could wipe out debt, buy property, or fund your lifelong dreams. Doesn't that make you want to start digging through? What if I told you that hiding inside an old jar of pennies on your nightstand, or sitting forgotten in a dusty box in your attic, could be a coin so rare, so extraordinary, that it might change your financial future forever? I'm talking about the 1969 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny. A 1-cent coin, just a penny, that has been known to sell for as much as $969,000 in today's market. Yes, you heard that right. A single cent, almost worth $1 million. Now before you think, come on, how could that be possible? Let me remind you, history has a funny way of leaving behind treasures in the most ordinary of places. Coins that people once tossed on countertops without a second thought are now selling for enough to buy homes, cars, even set up entire retirements. And that's why this story isn't just about a coin. It's about opportunity, it's about timing, and it's about whether you might already be holding a key to wealth you never imagined. The 1969 D Lincoln penny was minted in Denver during a time when the U.S. Mint was under pressure. Billions of coins were produced quickly to keep up with the economy. And with that rush came mistakes, variations, and quirks. Now, most of those coins are just pennies, ordinary, brown, and worth exactly 1 cent. But a rare few slipped through the cracks with unique doubling in their design or striking errors so unusual that collectors today will pay astonishing sums to own them. Think about it. The same year Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, the mint produced a penny so valuable that it could change someone's entire life 50 years later. Here's the part that excites collectors. The doubling on the 1969 D penny can be dramatic. We're talking about words on the coin like appearing to be doubled, almost like a ghostly echo stamped into the metal. Now, before you go running to grab every penny you've ever touched, know this. Spotting the real deal takes a trained eye. Counterfeits exist, and not every odd-looking penny is a jackpot. That's why understanding the details is everything. Imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, rolling up coins for the bank. You notice a slightly odd-looking penny. Maybe you think, oh, that's weird, the letters look a bit off. Most people toss it back without a thought. But you, after hearing this, you might take a closer look. You might hold it up to the light and wonder, could this be one of those fabled treasures? And in that single choice, to keep looking or to shrug it off, you could be holding a difference worth nearly $1 million. That's the razor edge between ordinary and extraordinary. Now, the current market value of the 1969 D double die penny has reached as high as $969,000. That's not just a number. It's a life-altering sum, enough to wipe out debt, fund college for your kids, or even buy your dream home outright. But here's the kicker. Only a handful of these coins are known, and the number out there in circulation is finite. Every year, as collectors buy and lock these away in safes and vaults, the chance of one surfacing in your pocket change gets slimmer, which means the urgency is real. If you're not checking your pennies now, you may already be too late. And yet, stories keep surfacing. Everyday people, teachers, retirees, even teenagers, discovering a coin worth hundreds of thousands in the least likely places. A drawer, a forgotten piggy bank, the bottom of an old coffee can. Doesn't it make you wonder where your own hidden treasure might be hiding? But let's pause here for a second. Be honest. How many of you just thought, wait a second, do I even have a jar of pennies left in my house? Or maybe you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true. And that's fair. But the truth is, coin collecting isn't about blind luck. It's about knowledge. It's about knowing what to look for, what to avoid, and how to verify what you've found. Without knowledge, it's just pocket change. With knowledge, it's potentially life-changing wealth. Now, the real question is, how do you know if your penny is the one? Well, here's your first step. Look closely at the date. 1969. Make sure it carries the small D mark under the date for Denver Mint. Then, check the lettering. Look at the word Liberty, at In God We Trust, at the numbers in the year itself. If those elements appear doubled, not blurry but sharply doubled, you may have something extraordinary. But don't stop there. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that looks just like the countless others you've tossed into a drawer or left in a cup holder. A simple 1971 Lincoln penny. Small, brown, and ordinary. But what if I told you that one of these nearly forgotten coins could carry a hidden secret? One that transforms a single cent into nearly $1 million fortune. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth up to $971,000 in today's market. The truth is, stories like this don't happen by accident. They happen because some people know what to look for, while others overlook the greatest opportunities hiding in plain sight. And if you've ever dreamed of discovering wealth without winning the lottery or buying risky stocks, this coin could be your wake-up call. Because once you learn the details behind the 1971 Lincoln penny, you'll never look at change the same way again. Now, let's start with the mystery. The 1971 penny was minted in San Francisco, and most were struck as proofs, shiny, perfect specimens made for collectors. But here's the twist. Not all of them came out flawless. Some carry rare errors, varieties, and features so scarce they ignite bidding wars among collectors. Imagine the tension in an auction room when a coin starts at a few $100s, climbs into the thousands, and then rockets to hundreds of thousands. The air changes. Every eye is locked on that tiny copper disc. And sometimes, when the stars align, that final hammer comes down at nearly $1 million. But what makes one penny worth a fortune while another barely buys a stick of gum? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and error. For the 1971 penny, the key lies in the proof coins, specifically the double die obverse. That's right, some pennies were struck twice on the front design, creating noticeable doubling on Lincoln's face and the lettering. If your coin has this error, you could be sitting on something extraordinary. Not just collectible, life-changing. Of course, this leads to the nagging question. What if you've had one all along, hiding in a jar unseen for decades? Think about that for a moment. How many times have you walked past a dusty shoebox, never thinking it could contain a piece of your financial freedom? How many old collections are tucked away in attics, inherited from parents or grandparents, quietly waiting for discovery? The fear of missing out is real, because every day, people wake up to realize the treasure they overlooked yesterday could have changed their lives forever. Now let's bring this closer to home. Picture yourself finding a 1971 penny, taking it to a coin dealer, and learning it's worth not just a few hundred, not just a few thousand, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. The dealer's eyes widen. The air gets heavy, and suddenly you're no longer just someone with loose change. You're someone holding a piece of history, a financial miracle in your palm. Doesn't that sound thrilling? Or terrifying? After all, what if you accidentally spent it at the gas station last week? Humor aside, the reality is powerful. Collectors crave this coin because it's rare, it's beautiful, and it tells a story of imperfection in the pursuit of perfection. That's what drives value, the human desire to own what few others can. It's the same reason paintings, classic cars, and luxury watches command astronomical prices. But here's the twist. While most of us can't just stumble upon a Picasso, anyone can stumble upon a penny. And here's where things get urgent. The market is shifting. Coins like the 1971 penny are fetching record-breaking prices today because collectors are competing harder than ever. But trends come and go, and no one knows how long this window of opportunity will last. Right now, a pristine 1971 double die obverse penny has been valued as high as $971,000. Imagine what that could do for your life. Pay off your house, retire early, set your children up for the future. Wealth doesn't always arrive as a paycheck. It can arrive as a penny. So what should you do? Start by checking your coins. Look carefully at the 1971 pennies in your possession. Imagine for a moment that the smallest coin sitting in a dusty jar on your kitchen counter could secretly hold the key to a life-changing fortune. A single penny, ordinary to the world, but extraordinary to the right set of eyes. And tonight, we're going to uncover one of the most whispered about treasures in American coin collecting history, the 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin so unassuming, yet so powerful, that it has already crossed the auction block for sums most people only dream about. How much? Up to $975,000. That's right, a single cent nearly worth $1 million. And the story behind it will change how you look at every coin in your home. But before you rush to pour out every drawer and piggy bank, let me take you on a journey. Because the secret to this penny's value isn't just about luck. It's about history, rarity, and the kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that can turn a careful collector into a millionaire overnight. Back in 1975, the U.S. Mint was in the middle of a silent transition. Every coin was supposed to carry its mint mark, a tiny stamp showing where it was produced. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, each mark mattered. But sometimes, for reasons buried deep in production errors, a few coins slipped through the cracks. A penny without its mint mark in 1975 wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, it did. Imagine being the person who first noticed, staring at this penny, realizing it was missing what everyone else assumed would always be there. That absence created rarity, and rarity fuels value. Now here's the thrilling part. While millions of 1975 pennies circulated across America, only a handful of no-mint mark examples have been confirmed. That means in a nation of over 200 million people at the time, only a lucky few may still be holding this hidden fortune in their pockets, in jars, or even stuck between the cushions of an old couch. Think about that. Your next step could be the one that unlocks nearly $1 million. Isn't that enough to make you want to grab a magnifying glass right now? But hold on, don't get carried away yet, because here's where fear comes in. For every rare coin that's been discovered, there are countless fakes. Counterfeiters know the allure of $1 million penny, and they've tried to recreate it. Some are so convincing they can fool untrained eyes. So how do you protect yourself? You need to know the markers, weight, sharpness of detail, and most importantly, authentication from a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Without that certification, your coin is just a gamble. And in this game, gambling can cost you tens of thousands. Let's inject a little reality check. Imagine selling what you thought was a jackpot penny on an online marketplace, only to find out later it was worth practically nothing. That's a nightmare scenario, and it's happened more often than you think. But here's the twist: the people who do it right, the ones who understand the rules of rarity, are walking away with checks big enough to pay off mortgages, buy luxury cars, or even retire early. The 1975 no-mint mark penny isn't just a coin. It's a ticket out of financial struggle if you're bold enough to look for it and smart enough to authenticate it. And let's be honest, doesn't the idea of holding something worth almost $1 million in the palm of your hand feel almost too wild to be true? That's why collectors call it the magic of numismatics. It transforms ordinary people into treasure hunters. It turns loose change into a lottery ticket, but one based on knowledge instead of pure chance. Here's where things get even more exciting. Market demand for rare pennies is only growing. As more collectors flood into the scene, chasing history and wealth, the price tags keep climbing. The current market value for this 1975 no-mint mark penny is already sitting at $975,000, but experts believe the next auction could push it past the $1 million mark. That means every day you wait to check your coins, the opportunity might be slipping through your fingers. Now imagine this scenario. You're holding the penny right now, and you don't even know it. It's sitting quietly, waiting for someone to recognize it, while life goes on: bills, work, routines. But what if tonight is the night you discover it? What if you're the next headline, the next lucky collector whose story goes viral? The thought alone is electrifying. So let me ask you this. Will you be the person who ignores this message and shrugs it off as another coin tale? Or will you be the one who checks your change, your jars, and your drawers and maybe uncovers a fortune? Because opportunities like this don't knock twice. If you're serious about transforming a single cent into nearly $1 million, then don't wait. Take action. Examine your coins carefully, learn the signs, get them authenticated, and position yourself for the kind of windfall most people only dream about. And if this story lit a spark inside you, don't let it fade. There are dozens of coins just like this waiting to be discovered, and I'll be uncovering more of them in upcoming videos. So make sure you're subscribed and tuned in, because the next coin I reveal might just be the one sitting in your pocket right now, quietly waiting to rewrite your story forever. What if I told you that the coin sitting in your dresser drawer, the one you've overlooked 1,000 times, could be the single key to a life-changing fortune? Imagine holding a penny worth nearly $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? But today, we're diving into the story of the 1976 Lincoln penny, an unassuming 1-cent piece that has stunned collectors, auction houses, and everyday people who never imagined they were holding a golden ticket disguised as copper. Here's the thing. Most people believe pennies are worthless. They toss them in jars, glove compartments, or leave them on the counter for the next person. But when you discover that a simple penny can reach values up to millions, suddenly that tiny coin isn't just spare change. It's a secret investment, one that rewards only those who pay attention. And if you're here watching this, it means you're already ahead of the crowd. So, why is the 1976 penny so special? It begins with the minting process in Denver, where mistakes and variations quietly slipped past the eyes of inspectors. These tiny errors, things like double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual die breaks, created coins that were not supposed to exist. And as you know, the rarer something is, the higher its value. Collectors hunt for them, investors bid on them, and the prices skyrocket. That's why today, the top-grade 1976 Lincoln penny can reach a jaw-dropping $976,000 at auction. Yes, nearly $1 million for 1 cent now. You might be wondering, how do you know if the penny in your pocket is the lucky one? First, check the mint mark. The little D, just beneath the year 1976, tells you it was minted in Denver. From there, condition matters. A coin that's been well circulated is still valuable, but the real wealth lies in those pennies that survived in pristine, uncirculated, almost mirror-like condition. Add in the possibility of rare errors, and suddenly that penny becomes a collector's dream. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you walked past a penny on the sidewalk? How many times have you dumped out a jar of change and thought nothing of it? What if the coin you ignored could have paid off your mortgage, your children's college tuition, or even a luxury vacation home? That's the kind of hidden opportunity we're talking about. Here's the exciting part. Unlike other investments that require big capital or complex strategies, this opportunity may already be sitting in your hands. No stock market volatility, no waiting for decades, no need to trust strangers with your money. Just you, your pocket change, and the knowledge to identify what others overlook. It's like playing the ultimate game of hide and seek, with wealth hidden in plain sight. But here's where fear comes in. If you don't look, if you don't check, if you simply assume your pennies are worthless, you could be walking away from life-changing money. Every year, collectors quietly snap up rare coins from unsuspecting sellers for pennies on the dollar. That could be your coin, lost to someone else's collection because you didn't take the time to learn what you have. Now let's add a little humor here, because who knew one of the cheapest coins in your wallet might outshine the value of your car? Imagine trying to explain that to your mechanic. Sorry, I can't pay in cash, but how about this penny worth almost $1 million? Wouldn't that be a fun conversation? So, how do you act on this? Start by inspecting your coins. Get a magnifying glass, good lighting, and patience. Look for clarity in the design, sharp edges, and of course the rare errors. If you're unsure, coin grading services exist to authenticate and evaluate your penny. That's how collectors and auction houses establish those record-breaking values. And remember, even if your penny isn't the $1 million one, many 1976 Lincoln pennies still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's not bad for a coin most people would leave in a tip jar. Here's the suspense. Somewhere out there, someone watching this right now has a 1976 penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even close to that record $976,000 value. The only question is, will you be the one to find it before someone else does? Let me leave you with this thought. Wealth isn't always about chasing what's new. Sometimes it's about rediscovering what's been in front of you all along. That little coin, that copper piece you've ignored, could be the catalyst to a wealthy lifestyle, the doorway to financial freedom, and the symbol of opportunity hidden in plain sight. So, don't dismiss your change. Don't underestimate the power of knowledge. And don't forget, every fortune starts with someone brave enough to look closer. If you're ready to uncover more secrets like this, to turn pocket change into prosperity, then hit subscribe right now, because the next coin I reveal could be the one that changes your life forever. After all, the only thing more painful than missing out on wealth is realizing you already had it in your hands. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so small, that you almost overlook it in your pocket change, and then discovering it could be worth close to $1 million. That's not a dream, not a fantasy. It's the reality of the 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Today, we're diving deep into why this unassuming little coin could be your ticket to financial freedom. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because the details might just change the way you look at every single penny lying around your house. The year was 1978. The Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for nearly 7 decades. Most people paid no attention to them. They were just 1-cent pieces, destined to disappear into jars, drawers, and couch cushions. But here's the twist. In rare cases, pennies from that year were struck without a mint mark. That tiny missing letter, the one most collectors scan for in seconds, transforms an otherwise common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now here's the kicker. One of these 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies has a current market value of an astounding $978,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin you could mistake for pocket change. Imagine the fear of tossing it into a vending machine without realizing what you had. It's like trading in a winning lottery ticket for a candy bar. But how does a penny reach such stratospheric value? It comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. Errors and anomalies in minting, like missing mint marks, are what make collectors' hearts race. They represent imperfections in an otherwise flawless system, and the fewer that exist, the more fiercely people compete to own them. It's the kind of competition that drives prices sky high. And while you may never stumble across one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the possibility is enough to ignite excitement in every coin hunter's heart. Think of it like treasure hunting. Every time you open an old coin jar or sift through a forgotten roll of pennies, you could be staring at a hidden fortune. The urgency is real. Coins like this don't surface often, and when they do, collectors are quick to snatch them up. That's why waiting, hesitating, or assuming you couldn't possibly have one is the biggest mistake of all. Have you checked every single penny in your house? Really? Or have you, like most people, brushed them aside as worthless copper clutter? Of course, not every 1978 penny will make you rich. Most are worth just a cent, maybe a few dollars if they're in great condition. But here's where the humor comes in. Imagine explaining to your friends that you became a millionaire because you refused to throw away that old coffee can full of pennies in your garage. They'd probably laugh until you showed them the check. Collectors and investors alike know the power of small details. A single coin can shift an entire financial picture. For some, that means turning a casual hobby into generational wealth. For others, it's a thrilling chase, a test of patience and persistence. And for you? Well, it could mean uncovering the one coin that changes your life story forever. The suspense builds, doesn't it? Because here's the truth. Somewhere, right now, in someone's pocket, purse, or dusty attic, a 1978 no-mint mark penny worth nearly $1 million is hiding. The question is, could it be in yours? And if you think this is just about coins, think again. It's about opportunity. It's about paying attention to the things most people overlook, seizing moments when others hesitate, and refusing to settle for the ordinary when the extraordinary might be sitting in your hand. That's the real wealth mindset, so here's what I'll leave you with. Tonight, tomorrow, this week, take a moment to look through your coins. Pay attention. That simple habit could mean the difference between letting life-changing wealth slip through your fingers or holding onto it and stepping into a future of abundance. Because in the world of rare coins, every cent truly counts. If this journey into the secret world of the 1978 Lincoln penny has sparked even the slightest curiosity, imagine what other hidden treasures might be out there waiting for you. Don't miss the next opportunity, because the next video might just reveal the key to another millionaire-making coin. Subscribe now, stay alert, and remember, your wealth might already be sitting right in the palm of your hand. What if I told you that a simple penny sitting in a jar on your nightstand could be worth more than a luxury home? Imagine holding in your hand a coin so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, that its value today has climbed to nearly $979,000. That's right, a 1979 Lincoln penny with the tiny letter D below the date, minted in Denver, can be worth up to millions. And here's the real shocker. Most people have seen one, touched one, maybe even spent one, without ever realizing the fortune they were giving away. The late 70s were a turbulent time in America. Inflation was rising, gas lines stretched for blocks, and yet, tucked inside cash registers and wallets, the Lincoln penny carried on quietly. On the surface, it was just a coin, copper-plated zinc after 1974's metal crisis, stamped with Abraham Lincoln's profile and produced by the billions. But not all pennies are created equal. A rare few, due to errors, misstrikes, or minting quirks, became treasures disguised as pocket change. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny is known for having certain variations. Some were struck off-center, others with double dies, and a handful emerged with minting defects so rare they've turned heads at auctions across the country. When collectors battle for these kinds of coins, prices skyrocket. We're not talking hundreds, not even thousands. Serious bidding wars have pushed valuations into the hundreds of thousands, and some of the finest examples are now pegged near the $1 million mark. You might be asking yourself, how does something I used to throw into a gumball machine become worth more than an Ivy League education? The answer is scarcity, condition, and timing. Scarcity because very few error coins survive circulation. Condition because collectors pay exponentially more for coins preserved in pristine, uncirculated states. And timing because right now, we are living through a surge of interest in tangible assets. Rare coins included, where wealthy buyers are chasing history they can hold in their hands. Picture this. A man in Texas once sold a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny he'd kept in a desk drawer for decades. It was flawless, uncirculated, and struck with a unique doubling that made collectors' jaws drop. The coin sold for a life-changing sum. Can you imagine discovering something like that in your home? What would you do with nearly $1 million from a penny you thought was worthless? Pay off your mortgage? Travel the world? Or maybe finally retire the way you always dreamed? Here's the thrilling part. You might already own one without knowing it. That's why every single 1979 penny you come across deserves a closer look. Turn it over. Is the D-mint mark sharp and clear, or does it look doubled? Check the edges. Are they struck perfectly or slightly off? And if the coin still gleams like the day it left the mint, you could be sitting on a financial time bomb ready to go off. But here's the fear factor. Most people spend their wealth without realizing it. They toss coins into vending machines, leave them buried in old coffee cans, or hand them over at garage sales. Every day, small fortunes vanish back into circulation, unnoticed. The truth is, coins don't announce their value. They whisper it, and only those who know where to listen can unlock their secret. Let me leave you with this cliffhanger. Somewhere in America, there's another 1979 D. Lincoln penny sitting in a forgotten jar, waiting to change someone's life. The question is, will that someone be you, or will you let it slip through your fingers forever? If you want to secure your chance at financial freedom through coins like this, don't just walk away from this knowledge. Start checking your change, searching your drawers, and taking those pennies seriously. And if you're ready for more stories about ordinary coins worth extraordinary wealth, hit that subscribe button, because next time, I'll reveal another coin so overlooked, so unsuspecting, it makes the 1979 penny look like a warm-up act. Imagine holding a penny in your hand so ordinary that you might toss it into a jar, slide it across a counter, or drop it under your car seat without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that very same penny could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unreal, right? But that's exactly the story of the 1982 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, one of the most elusive and valuable modern coins in U.S. history. And right now, one example holds a market value of over $982,000. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people know the 1982 penny for a simple reason. It was the year the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc. Millions were struck, but among those countless pennies lies a mistake so rare, so subtle, that it has transformed a coin worth just 1 cent into a life-changing fortune. But before you rush to dig through your pocket change, let's talk about how this happened, why it matters, and how you might be sitting on a small copper-colored lottery ticket without even realizing it. Back in 1982, the U.S. Mint faced rising copper costs. To save money, they transitioned the penny's composition from 95% copper to a cheaper copper-plated zinc. But here's the twist. The change didn't happen overnight. That year alone, the Mint produced 7 different varieties of pennies. Large date, small date, copper, zinc, mint marks from Denver, no mint marks from Philadelphia. It was chaos. Somewhere in this mix, a mistake slipped through. A no-mint mark penny struck in the wrong composition, carrying the wrong details, and produced in extremely low numbers. Think about that for a moment. Billions of ordinary coins pouring out of the mint, yet a handful ended up being so unique they now command values close to $1 million. It's almost poetic, like winning the lottery, but instead of buying a ticket, you just had to keep an eye on your change. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you know if your 1982 penny is the jackpot? Here's where the story gets exciting, and maybe even a little nerve-wracking. The first clue is the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. A true treasure from 1982 will have no tiny d under the date, marking it as a Philadelphia strike. Next, it's about the weight. Copper pennies weigh about 3.1 grams, while zinc pennies weigh 2.5. That difference may seem tiny, but it's everything. Grab a digital scale, weigh your coin, and suddenly you'll know whether you're holding pocket change or a life-changing asset. Isn't it wild that 0.6 grams can mean the difference between buying a coffee or buying a house? Collectors go absolutely wild for these errors, and the reason is simple: scarcity. Rarity is what drives the market into the stratosphere. And when wealthy collectors compete, the bidding war can reach numbers that make your jaw drop. Right now, one verified 1982 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny sits at a staggering $982,000. That's not a typo. 1 cent turned into nearly $1 million, but here's where the urgency comes in. The coin market is always shifting. Trends rise and fall. What's hot today might be forgotten tomorrow. Imagine knowing you had one of these pennies sitting in a jar for decades and only realizing its worth when the demand had cooled. That's why awareness matters, because opportunity doesn't knock twice. Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through an old shoebox of coins you've kept since childhood. You're about to toss a dull-looking penny back into the pile, but something makes you pause. No mint mark. You put it on a scale. 3.1 grams. Your pulse quickens. That penny you've ignored for years could now be your ticket to financial freedom. Suddenly, every coin in that jar feels like buried treasure. And yes, let's acknowledge the humor here. Who would have thought that in 2025, with all our technology and digital wallets, people would still be frantically weighing pennies like prospectors panning for gold? But that's the magic of coin collecting. It blends history, luck, and possibility into one small piece of metal. So, what should you do if you find one? First, don't clean it. Ever. Collectors want authenticity, not shine. Next, get it authenticated by a reputable grading service. That's how you protect your treasure and prove its value. Then, the world of high-end auctions opens up to you, where collectors with deep pockets are waiting to outbid each other for a piece of numismatic history. Now, I have to leave you with a cliffhanger, because here's the truth. The 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't the only coin hiding in plain sight that could be worth a fortune. There are other modern coins just as deceptive, just as ordinary-looking, with values climbing into the hundreds of thousands. And most people will never know about them until it's too late. The question is, will you? Will you keep tossing pennies aside? Or will you take the time to look closer? Because one coin, one simple discovery, could rewrite your financial story forever. If you want to uncover more secrets like this, more stories of small coins with life-changing value, make sure you stay connected right here. Your next $1 million discovery might already be in your pocket. Don't let it slip away.